Stone Age fan. His story.
So fast.
Sounds like Christmas.
It does.
We have a gay old time.
Can I actually throw a little bit of a curveball in for this episode?
Please do it.
As a little surprise.
Yeah.
So this episode comes out on the 6-year anniversary of EP1's release.
Oh
my God.
wow.
No shit.
Yeah.
That's
so
pretty
I thought
tight.
that would be cool to talk about for a little bit looking back. 6 years ago,
6
EP1
years.
came out today.
Damn.
Oh my God. So we're just learning that EP1 of Qveen Herby came out 6 years ago.
Holy shit.
Oh my God.
Wait, 6 years ago.
Yep.
Where was I?
Wow. No,
Who was
in
I?
some ways it feels true. In other ways it feels like the time flew by.
Does
Like
it
in
feel
some ways I
shorter or
feel like, no,
longer?
that was 6 years. Think about how much I've been through in 6 years.
Yeah,
I'm like,
kinda-
okay, bitch, that's...
It kind of feels like 10 sometimes.
You're right.
It either feels like 10 or it also feels like 3.
Oh, that was no time at all.
Yeah, somehow it feels like both, but
Time
not
is funny
6.
like that.
Are you able to tap back into like when you were writing the songs for EP1 and do you remember that feeling? What was that? Was that
Yeah. It was
pure excitement?
Yeah, heavy inspiration. A lot of it was also a little bit of fear too, because we're completely branching off into something totally fucking new and being like, here you go, slapping shit against the wall.
Let's see what
hoping it
happens.
sticks. But I hadn't really produced anything before.
Right.
You were like, my name's different, JK, LOL. You know what I mean?
I was like, I went back to dark hair and here's my glasses.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we did glasses. We did a lot of.
It was a lot of that good, innocent, childlike energy for me because I realized that I had never like been fully myself yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had, like Carmen was kind of, like the retro hairstyle
Parts
and like
of
the
it,
quirkiness of
flavors.
it. But as soon as we signed with a label and we had like our team got so big, it was like, and I'm a people pleaser on top of it. I was like, oh shit, I'm not that girl. That was never me. So I was just becoming aware of the fact that I could dial in my own shit.
Mm-hmm.
And we took a trip to the Gucci store on edibles and it was like life changing. It was life changing.
Oh, it really was. It really was.
That was it. I came home and I wrote Gucci in like 5 minutes.
Yep.
That was the first Qveen Herby song ever written. It's on EP1. Those of you that are
That's my
listening are
favorite
like,
one.
wait, shit.
And that one, that's how we found you, wasn't it?
That's
You-
how we
you were
found
covering
Alex.
it.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Yes.
Here we go. That's when we played it for our buddy Steve.
That's how we met Alex. His
Pompano
boy
Puff.
band at the time covered Gucci. Isn't that so
Yeah,
dope?
that is fucking tight.
And then by Wifey, you were in the music
the-
video
yeah.
shoot, like helping. And we were like, we keep this kid around?
Yeah, that's when we knew Alex was going to stay around because we were doing way too fucking much on a shoot, like we
Yeah.
always fucking do.
And he had such a positive attitude, a can-do attitude.
Well, you just got it done.
Yeah.
You fucking you made lists and knew how to organize time and made sure we stayed on schedule.
It was fun
That's
too.
incredibly important.
So you're telling me
much
that
of
was 6 years
fucking-
ago?
6 years ago.
That's insane.
6 years ago. God, how old was I back then?
I can't even count that far.
30.
You know
31?
I don't do math. 30 what?
You would have been 31.
31.
Wow.
What-
We were
who was
just
I
getting
back
out of
then?
our Saturn Return,
I
too.
had just started walking.
That's what it was.
Oh, yeah, that's probably what it was.
Yeah. Damn.
Saturn
and when
Return, for people who don't know, comes every 30 years and it fucks your shit up and then you're totally different afterwards.
Yes. If you don't know about Saturn Return and you're like in your late 20s, like you might want to Google it, sis. It's worth it. It's worth it. It's like, okay, this is what's happening. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's
No, totally.
For me,
But
it's like a good thing. I love transforming.
It's change, I feel like.
Yeah, that
At least,
was massive change for
yeah,
us.
which is super uncomfortable. And
We were
shit
like
that you
moving.
hate.
We had just moved to a new place too. We had moved our living quarters. We got a new place. Remember?
We live in quarters.
And we'd started recording. We were like, okay, we're going to set up the studio in the living room and just have it be the whole fucking house.
Oh, yeah, totally. You're right.
What are we
You're right.
doing trying to like go to recording studios? It's a waste of money and time.
Yeah, because our first spot in LA, we built this beautiful studio. in the
Recording
back.
studio with like
And then Amy
custom
realized,
sound reinforcement. And
Yeah.
we made like 6 songs in there and we were like, this sucks.
I loved it. I like this
They
set.
like
this
cut
space.
a hole in the wall and put glass in there for it to be
for
like
a live room, used it like 3
so
times.
silly of us.
But you fucking hate it. You were like, you hated the process of
Like-
like having to like set up and be creative. You were more like, you were more flying.
I was
on
like,
the
I need to
wall.
be in my living room.
What we realized is we were making the best shit, felt more casual. So
Yes.
I would be in the next room and the door was open,
Yeah.
just banging away on something, and then you'd be like literally fucking loading the dishwasher and
took
come
us-
up with an idea.
It took us so long to figure out our best like layout for how we work.
Yeah.
And we had to release all these beliefs and fears. Like we spent a fortune making a recording studio and we found out that wasn't what we wanted. That's such a great example for this podcast.
Oh, that is a great example for this podcast, because that's exactly because that's what everybody tells you to do. That's just how you do the thing, right? You make a studio. And this was also, too, at a time, home recording equipment has changed
so much.
So drastically over
like
the
even
last...
6 to 10 years ago, it wasn't really...
It wasn't like it is now.
Normal to have a studio in your house.
Yeah.
And when we say we have a studio in our house, like Alex has seen it, it's literally like a box with a couple of things in there and then like a computer.
Yeah. So I had somebody make it like a portable one just in case, because we don't want to feel like we're tied down anywhere.
Right.
So it was all made to fit in this big fucking, what are the Pelican.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like the super hard cases. So it's all made to be able to like break down and fit in there and just take it on the plane or whatever.
Oh, we did one more after that. After we got the new place, we moved into the new house and we were like, let's get a studio desk.
Oh, yeah. Studio
we spent
desk.
like a fortune getting a
shit was
custom
tight,
desk.
though.
It was like a spaceship.
Because otherwise, like the shit I have
we
now,
were
it's
still
a
holding
fucking,
on to.
But it gets sometimes I get the studio desk. Because you can put everything right there.
And you can access it all.
Easily. Right now, I got to
man.
fucking bend over and like change the gain on the whatever. And the computer is right in front of my... It's fine. Look, it's not a big deal, kids, but...
It's how far you can refine your process.
You totally can. But the thing with those desks is they're beautiful, whatever. They are so big.
So big.
And so fucking heavy.
I was like, where did my living room go? And now it's just, this is a recording studio.
They make every room look small.
They do. But do you remember feeling, because you said you didn't produce anything really before this, did you remember feeling like imposter syndrome or like, I remember back in 6 years ago, I was like so cautious. Even though I was embracing and being bold in my choices creatively and aesthetically too, like my look, this is where I started claiming like my look, which has evolved over time to this short Lord Farquaad hair. But I was also like I was pretty uptight. I was pretty like, I wasn't sharing my whole personality. I was a little scared and like traumatized from the Carmen experience.
Yeah.
And so I was like, wait, what if I am this moody, like Wednesday Addams bitch for a second? Yeah. And it's just funny because today when I make music, I'm like unhinged. I just say and do whatever I want. And most of it's pretty positive and joyful. I think back then I was trying to be like more of a moody R&B girl.
Yeah, totally.
And my healing of the traumas and stuff has actually led to me making more happy shit. Mm-hmm. And that's probably the biggest change I see from. Speaking of which, the CDs of these first EPs are available. We just printed these gorgeous things.
Oh my God, so pretty.
I worked with one of the artists in our community, our House of Herbie community, made me into girl groups. So each of the 9 original EPs is now on 3 discs. And there's this trio of Queen Herbies on the front that you have to see. So queenherby.com for that.
Yeah.
So happy anniversary, really, to Queen Herbie.
Happy
you. Anniversary.
Oh,
to
yes.
Queen Herbie.
It's really the birth of you.
That really was the birth of me. I mean, it was technically January of that year I announced.
Right. Carmen is dead.
I did.
Yeah, but you didn't have anything
I
out.
posted
I feel
something.
I feel like the summer.
The OG Carmen fans know because I had posted prior to that, like, hey, I'm moving on.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm moving on. We are back. Your favorite podcast, House of Herbie, your safe space for self-discovery and bad bitchery. I'm Queen Herbie. Of course, sitting next to me is Jedi Nick. We have Podcast Alice on the 1s and 2s. And today I want to talk to you about...
What does that mean?
On the 1s and 2s?
When you say somebody's on the 1s and 2s,
what is
why
that?
are you twisting nipples? What is that?
It makes me think of knobs. Like,
it's
1s and
knobs. Got
2s.
it. Why did I think it was nipples?
Oh, it is a DJ term.
Oh,
right?
The 1s and 2s.
You have deck 1 and deck 2.
Is that what it is? It's a fucking music
might be
term
that.
and I don't fucking know this shit?
There's a lot of things that you could divide into 1s and 2s because I'm thinking now.
Is it binary?
Claps,
Oh, no,
like
that's
the
0
snare.
and 1s.
Oh, right. Yes.
We got Alex on the 0s and the 1s.
Is it a dance move? No, I bet you it's DJ decks.
Yeah.
It probably is.
Correct us if we're wrong.
My initial thought was nipples.
Okay, well, speaking of those early days, I bought some DJ decks back then, thinking that I was going to be Queen Herbie, the DJ, singing DJ. And that definitely
Which
lasted.
is still not a terrible
That's
idea.
another example of going down the rabbit hole and being like, no, bitch, I don't want to DJ.
Oh, we should do that again.
You want to DJ?
Content. Jesus, everything now is about like, can you make content out of it?
Yeah, basically.
But yeah, that would be so. That's not a terrible idea. So look, hold on. We set up the, we get the DJ tracks. You have to remix. You got to, make a different track.
Yep.
Right, and then rap your verses over it.
Yeah. Well, that was the goal back then. But
Let's do it now.
You want to do it now?
Scrap the podcast.
Right.
We're getting it going at Guitar Center.
What you don't need to do is spend a fortune on building a studio. You can just get, you don't have to get the DJ decks that I had to get the ones that were gold, which are like massive. Like there was no reason for that. You can get now for like $150, like little decks to learn on. So this is a really great example of what I want to talk about today, which is how to figure out who you are. Because I think there's been a lot of friends and acquaintances this last couple months that have asked Nick and I, like, hey, what am I doing? Like, how do you know?
Who am I?
Right. And all of our conversations, they didn't start like that, but our conversations would eventually evolve into, well, how do you figure out who you are? Yeah. How do you figure out who you are?
The main thing that we have been talking with people about ends up always at, well, what do you want?
Right.
Or who are you? Do you know who you are and do you know what you want? And they like, nobody knows really. And it's when we tell them, like, we understand this is a loaded question and it changes. The answer will probably change.
Yeah. And lately people ask me this question and I kind of force an answer out.
What's your answer right now?
My answer right now is I am Queen Herbie, the biggest artist in the world, lyrical genius, healer, and designer, creating a new world of peace, balance, joy, and safety with a team of visionary craft masters.
And I'm Nick.
That's what I say to myself every day, and that has evolved a lot even since 6 years ago. I had like this whole other thing in mind. Yeah. So it's like affirmations are really cool for this. If that helps you sort of like fake it till you make it and attract it to yourself. But then sometimes I'll just blurt out an answer like, I help people find the courage to transform and live their best life. Sometimes it's that simple.
Yeah. I would say that's pretty true too.
But this has taken years, babes. Like if you're listening to this and you're like, wow, I don't wake up in the morning chanting my thing. This episode is for you because we have done it so much to where now we're not delicate. We just like observe ourselves and we have so much compassion for ourselves that we can just continue to evolve and share the process with you. We're so comfortable with it. There's nothing to be embarrassed about.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of the first thing that comes up when you ask people, well, who are you? They don't know who they are. They're like embarrassed.
Yeah.
Because that's like kind of ridiculous.
It's also really powerful to admit that too, to be like, no, it's like, I don't know.
I don't know who I am.
I don't know.
And we're about to get into why, because there's reasons, right? Yeah. So this episode is about how to figure out who the fuck you are. And it's kind of about reinvention, which I love that word. So let's dive into it. So I guess the only thing, if you're going to tune out of this episode in the next 20 seconds, the only thing you need to know is you are your own maker. So my thought is that people don't know who they are because they haven't spent enough time focused on it. Okay. Right? You could just be unconscious and just do what other people want you to do. In your whole life, you get comfortable in it, you get locked in, and then you can't bust out of those things. So it's just easier to do what your family wants you to do. And then some people don't do what their family wants them to do. They just rebel entirely. And that's not necessarily who you are either. That's just you see what I'm saying? That's
just a response
like,
from the,
yeah. So it's funny, for a long time I thought, well, if I'm like this naughty, like punk, rebel girl, that's going to save me. And that's not who I am at all either. It's just it was a response from like my upbringing. Right. Which was like somewhat religious. Right. So you still end up with the same question. Like, who am I? Who am I after all that shit? My internet's research said that obviously from infants, we're put in boxes that give us identities too. So it's kind of life is impossible already because you're born and you can't use any of your limbs or eat or shit by yourself. And as soon as you're old enough to show some personality, people label you. You're like, oh, she's the pretty one. She's the dumb one. She's the sporty one, whatever.
What
were you?
That's a good question. What one was
I?
Oh,
what was Nick?
I was the trombone one.
You always had a sense of humor though.
Yeah, I was probably the clown.
You were always the clown.
A little bit.
Yeah. I was like, I was the artsy girl for sure.
You were the artsy girl?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that.
Not necessarily the best at anything, but I was really into the arts. Yeah. So I remember people in my school were always like, she's just doing, more art.
One of those.
We need your art, by the way. Reminder. What were you labeled as, Alex?
I was always the helpful one.
Oh, God.
Teacher's pet.
Ultimate.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Ultimate.
People pleaser 101. Yeah.
And so it's funny because like those definitions continue to define us mentally. Like we just go through our life. And if Alex is like, I'm the helpful one, he's always going to be attached to that like needing to help or wanting to help. And it might not necessarily be who you are had you been given a different one. So this is why it's so important to dive in and question these things. And we're going to get into how to do that. Because I thought I was the artsy girl too. And then I was like, no, I'm very much commercial. I don't want to be like an artist, like suffering and like not making a living from it.
Right.
I'm always going to be striving.
Yeah.
I'm a hustler. I do enjoy the game of reaching the masses.
But on your terms.
On my terms. So here we go.
You do have terms about that.
So
right?
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Even just this brief conversation has already defined who I am so much.
Well, it's clarification.
And I want everybody who's listening to have the same ability.
Yeah.
This is going to make your quality of life so much better.
Mm-hmm. My big thing is like it can be stressful, but it's also like really fun. If you start to look at yourself as like, it's like, oh, okay, well, I never really thought about thinking about myself.
What would Nick Noonan wear?
What the fuck do I want to do?
Who
the fuck am I?
Yeah.
Well, it is like, instead of looking at it as if it, or maybe you don't, if it's stressful or scary, like, it's actually like, what if it was really fun?
Yes, that was kind of a look of dread in our friends' faces when we spoke to them about this. And then I was like, no, bitch, congratulations. You have like one of life's most valuable adventures ahead of you. You get to figure out who you are. That's like my favorite part.
It's still it can be a belly flop in the beginning though. You know what I mean?
It is painful, but that's just because of those programs.
Yeah.
So we're about to give you some tips because in reality, if we can get you to express your unique gifts, that's actually the best contribution you can make to society. And it gives you your healthiest life too. So it's obviously all the articles I was reading is like, it's healthy to figure out who you are. No fucking kidding. Yeah, we know. But my theory is that if you are questioning who you are still and it's scary for you, I don't think you have enough BDE. I think it's like this, you're too modest, right?
Sure.
Or distracted or stressed or all of the above.
Distracted, probably.
It's like if you don't know what you want, it's like also overwhelming. Right. So you're not like, you don't have that self-confidence and like that selfishness that you need to focus on you, which is totally understandable. And then, it's overwhelming because there's so many options.
No, there are.
Once you open this door, babe,
I know.
it's the double doors.
It's a little bit.
It's double doors. And all the rainbows just start pouring and you're like, holy shit.
Oh my God. Who let the rainbows out?
I am a rainbow.
Oh my God. We took the acid.
I knew it. And then what everybody always says, all the articles and like all the memes were like, know thyself. It's like, okay, God, is it time for the eye roll? We're doing it.
No, but it's true because it's all still, were you going to keep going?
Knowing who you are is the beginning of all wisdom.
Beginning who the thing is.
It's the beginning of all wisdom. It's annoying. I just want to roll my eyes all the time. But it's true. You're always, and that's the crazy part is that that's how you're going to make any of your decisions. That's how you're going to, all of your whole frame of you're finding out your values. How
right?
do you feel fulfilled? And, at the end of the day and at the end of your life is based on this shit.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And can I just tell you though, like, take your time. This is a guy we've talked about a few times, Gary V. If you guys don't know who he is, check his shit out because he is huge on this. Like, go fuck up. Go fail. Go figure your shit out.
Yeah, we have episodes on failure too.
Go try things, especially when you're young, and everybody is pretty fucking young, even if you feel like you're not. Yeah. All right? Well, you have more time than you think you do, I think.
Yes.
Well, in some ways. Always try to, I guess it's courage over fear. You know what I mean? I'm always kind of the guy that's like, take the plunge, see what happens. I don't know. Let's take some roofies and go to the airport and see where we wake up. I don't know. Let's see what happens.
So everybody that I talk to that's like, okay, Qveen, well, how do I find out who I am? The gag is there is actually no arrival point to where you're like, I found it. I found who I am. You're constantly going to be evolving and growing and changing. And the world around you is doing the same thing. So it's kind of a lie that people are like, and as soon as you find yourself, like, bitch, It's an ongoing process. So if it's not about figuring out who you are once and for all, it's an ongoing practice and ritual.
Yeah. Fuck.
So I decided that
uncomfortable.
I can share like my queen ritual for like how I figure out who I am on a regular basis, because it's something you have to continue doing. You didn't sign up for a one-track life. And what's cool that I've noticed is things reveal themselves to me on my journey that like I wasn't ready for 6 years ago. You know, there's shit happening now that I'm like, oh damn, this is so beautiful how it's unfolding. So there's a bit of trust that goes into this too. Another thing to know about this is that reinventing yourself is not difficult. I think a lot of people are like, oh, I need to like quit my job and go to an ashram and meditate. You know what I mean? It's not true.
Yeah.
You can literally do this. Like you can get yourself on the path to creating the life you want, like in really simple steps.
Okay, what are those?
So the way that I go about my ritual is kind of like just a few steps. I love to set up a space, like a physical space, like a witch's altar, like a witchy little area. Like where's the best part of your home energetically? Have you ever like closed your eyes and walked around and be like, I really love this corner. I really love the northwestern corner.
Stubbing toes and shit.
You know, or like I've moved my desk around so many times.
You move your desk around
because the direction.
The time.
Look it up on Feng Shui. It's like which direction your desk faces, like attracts different energies.
Should I move? I don't move my fucking things ever.
You are so Capricorn.
Except maybe the fucking what is it called? The pile of clothes in the corner that moves. But that's
no,
it.
that kind of stays in the same. He doesn't move anything.
Move either.
Meanwhile, I'm the change queen.
Yeah.
But it's important to set up a space and like put on the music you like and set out a journal. And some of you I know like to clean and organize. Like really like take a shower first. Like set up. Like I really want you to flirt with this process. You need to flirt with the universe because this can be the most rewarding thing you do in your life. And so setting up a space, like get that pillow on Amazon and like, sit on it.
The one with the dicks.
Get the dick pillow.
Get the dick pillow. What are you waiting for? Now available at queenherbie.com.
Oh my God, no. Actually, let's make those. So once you sit down in your safe space and you have this beautiful clean space, it smells good and it sounds even better. You're going to say, what did I like to do as an 8-year-old? You remember this episode? We talked about this on one of the early episodes. I've seen so much great feedback from this. So many people were like, Queen, I made a list of what I like to do when I was 8 and I was doing some of it and other things I'm going to do this weekend. And I'm like, nice. Thank you. It actually does fucking work. And it's such a cut and dry way to be like, shit, am I in alignment with kind of my joy? So also make a list of what you do in your spare time, because this is going to help then point out like, oh, I do try to squeeze these things in and maybe consider like, if you don't have a lot of spare time, what are you spending your time on? Somebody said that this week. They were like, happiness is like the gap between what you're doing and what you'd rather be doing.
Wow.
I was like,
damn.
Good
for last week.
Right. Oops, missed it. See, we're learning in real time on House of Herbie.
Oh my God.
So there was somebody I was speaking to, like somebody that I sort of have been mentoring, and I asked them like, what do you do in your spare time? And they were like, oh, I watch anime and drag content. They were like, I waste my life like watching anime and drag content, like all nonchalant like that. And I was like, babe, slow down. You should be doing things in anime and drag content. Mm-hmm. Like that's your joy. Yeah. Don't deny yourself.
Are two full industries now.
That's full industries where on House of Herbie, we could literally coach you on how to start a business or figure out a way to make a living from that.
Get into that world. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Man, it kind of broke my heart. And I think that after that conversation, they kind of like grabbed life by the balls a little bit more.
Oh, yeah,
because if you can't even be proud of what you love to do, that's just a great starting point. Let's start there.
Yeah.
So you now made your list in your safe and clean space. You're now going to visualize your ideal self. So for me, I have this big book of like blank paper and I draw like pictures of myself in the future. Like my hair color, cut, fashion, what I might want to make and sell in my store. Like I really draw pictures, like cartoony ass pictures, and like write words. I got some of those pens, those like Japanese pens. I forget what they're called, but they're all different colors. No, they're like the inky pens that are, oh man.
Inky guy?
No.
Inky Guy.
Inky Guy. That would be a good pen company. Start it. Somebody. We just come out with different company ideas and force people to make them.
They all fail after 2 weeks.
All of them. So you're doodling and drawing, and maybe some of you like to do mood boards, and maybe some of you like to do journals, and you just have to get it out. She's in there. You just got to get it out. So another thing to keep in mind is this is not for anyone else. Right? Mm-hmm. This is just for you. So if you have to burn it after, I mean, that would be sad. You could probably find a safe place to store it, and just then examine, like, why do you feel worried that someone might find it? What's that about? Interesting. Yeah. Just to get curious about it. It's like, wow, I really don't want people to know that I want to be a mermaid. It's like, but why? That's wonderful.
I told you not to tell anybody.
Yeah. So we're here to remind you that whatever it is wonderful. The next step is to fearlessly try new things that call to you. So if you wrote down, I want to be a mermaid, I want to do this, you got to figure out, like, what's your next step? How can I get into the game in some way? Maybe it's like connecting with somebody who's a mermaid on Instagram, or like getting a mermaid tail. You can now purchase those on like Etsy, and they're waterproof. You can like swim in pools, and you're like, I got to find out which pools allow me to wear a mermaid tail. And you got to figure out, like, do I want to change my hair color to like fit this fantasy? Do I need to get waterproof makeup? There's a lot of things.
Those details.
You're taking steps, and it's fearless steps. Like you were saying earlier, you got to be like, I'm just going to do it. And keep in mind, the worst possible outcome is that you find out that you're not good at it.
Yeah.
You find out that it's not for you.
Yeah.
Which literally means nothing except keep going.
Well, that's the only way for me to find out what I do want, is to check off the list of things that I know I don't want. Honestly.
So true. It's so true.
And I know a lot of people think that there's going to be, and maybe some other people have different approaches to it or whatever, but every fucking enlightened spiritual book that I read, they're all saying the same thing. They're all saying the same thing too. They're like, yeah, I mean, you have to, there's like your soul, or you, right? Whatever the fuck it is. And then your body. So they describe it as like your inner purpose and your outer purpose. And most people have, their inner purposes are the same for the most part, like, become a better person and, only operate from love and unconditional love and peace or whatever, right? But your outer purpose, everybody has vastly different. We still have to find jobs or, be part of society, or maybe not. Maybe that's part of your experience too, but you have to still be kind of like a person with a body that you got to maintain.
Yeah.
So it's like trying to always bring those two things close together as you can. And that's how you start to feel like satisfaction from at least what you do. So as you start to figure out who you are, then you can try to align those things too. Or if you feel like you don't know who you are, maybe those are very far away.
Interesting.
Right now.
That might be it.
But that's how a lot of them describe it. It's like there's the body, and then there's the imprint, the actual you who's gonna go on.
The body and the soul.
Body and the Soul.
Body and Soul.
Favorite piano song.
Is that song called?
Heart
and Soul.
Oh, Heart and Soul.
I was like, Body and Soul. That's too many syllables, Nick.
Body, my soul.
Well, I love how you said that. And on one of Oprah's articles, there's a writer called Anne Lamott who said another way to approach figuring out who you are is to gently stop being who we aren't.
Right.
Isn't that so sweet?
Yeah.
It's an elegant way of saying it.
Yeah.
Gently stop being who we aren't.
Yeah.
I love that because it has to be compassion. I think that's the key. Even thinking back, this is such a perfect day to talk about this because going back to EP1, like I was just like being really gentle with myself and trying to pull her out because she was scared in that box that she had been put in. That's really all it was.
Yeah.
Damn.
Absolutely.
That is so wild.
That's a good point.
Yeah. This same writer was like, here's how I became myself. Mess, failure, mistakes, disappointments, and extensive reading, limbo, indecision, setbacks, addiction, public embarrassment, and endless conversations with my best women friends, the loss of people with whom I could not live, the loss of pets that left me reeling, dizzying betrayals, but much greater loyalty and overall choosing my motto.
So life.
Yeah. Period.
But you can't cheat. That's kind of why we're here.
It
I
is.
think, right?
It
This is not the gag.
So now you're doing fearlessly new things and you're finding out some of them you're good at. And surprisingly, some of them you aren't. And that's okay. And we move on because we've discovered things about ourselves. We are now literally in the process of finding out who we are. The next step is to go to new places. What I noticed about this one is like when I get my ass out the house or go somewhere weird and that makes me uncomfortable.
Which is so hard to do, by the way.
It is hard to do when you're cozy like us. But the universe.
I like getting out.
You do. I know. And every time you come back from going out and you're like, babe, I just have so many ideas. I was like, wow.
So many ideas.
It's really does anybody else come home from social events and go, babe, I just had so many realizations and ideas. Like, this is who we are, you know, this is our shit. But sometimes the universe does speak to you when you demonstrate that you're looking for input.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, universe, I'm going to go out and talk to strangers tonight and like be in a different world. Like the other night I went to this spiritual women's, it was actually a beautiful event called Enchanted Loft. And it was all these healer women like in a circle and like going around and using their gifts to heal. So some of them were like doing acupuncture, some were doing Reiki, and it was like all in real time, a whole like healing circle happening. And I was like, damn, I've never been to something quite like it. It was really beautiful. Yeah. And I was like,
sounds like some hippie shit.
It was some rad hippie shit. And I was so impressed. And I cool. Found all the practitioners on Instagram later and just thanked them because I was like, magical. I should probably share the link for their next event because they do it monthly. The Enchanted Loft. Yeah.
That's cool.
It's pretty dope. So the next step is pretty, I guess I skipped over it a little bit, but it's notice when you find out that you're good at something and claim it. So what I noticed too is a lot of these babes will go out and be like, yeah, well, I did the anime and I did the drag event or whatever. And I noticed I was bad at a bunch of stuff, but like, you got to look at the thing that you were like, but I was really good at doing my own makeup. And then you have to sort of like claim it, like make it a part of your identity. This is like how the change literally happens. Because if you don't acknowledge, oh, damn, I found out I was good at making the outfit. Or I'm actually really good at drawing and I just met an animator and I think I'm going to get this new software. Like you have to be like, and now I'm becoming an animator, right? So you have to claim it. So that's the key. I have a little goodie for you guys this week. Pretty excited about this. I spent some time making a little print buddy for the House of Herbie podcast page.
Well, we got a worksheet?
I get a worksheet.
Oh my God.
It's pretty lit because it's one. I don't want you to print any more than one.
Do we have a printer?
Yes.
We do?
Yes. Can you believe it? It's not a good
Hardly.
one. It's just like a black and white printer. I really don't fuck around with printers.
Is it on the phone? Do phones print yet?
You can
Alex,
air print.
find out if phones print.
So if you're interested in printing the House of Herbie core values sheet, this is kind of dope because I really needed this at those early days of Queen Herbie.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what I stood for. Like this is a very deep one, y'all. But that's why I was like, let's make a printout because you print it out and you just circle the words that give you a tingle, like in your titties. You like, oh, I really do love courage more than like being cool, right? But some people really want to be cool and they don't want to like necessarily be about courage. So there's 200 some words on there if you print it out, and then when you're done you narrow that down to like the top 5, and then I left a spot in the bottom for you to like write those words big and then do doodles on it if you want to do some doodles like me. But figuring out what your core values are, and these change too, but right now that just gives you something else to anchor to, that you're like, oh, I love anime and drag content and I give a fuck about courage, activism, and this. Pools. So then you're like, oh, I got goosebumps just now. You're combining what you're realizing about yourself with something like palpable that you could then say, oh, I'm getting closer to an idea where I could like make a business out of this or make this something that I do in my spare time for reals.
Yeah. Or
just become a hobbyist or start a community of people.
So like, you had no idea you could rap, right?
No idea.
Yeah. So, and at the time, like maybe there was still so much more you had to learn about it.
Well, because you know why? Because I was in a box that was labeled really professionally. That was like, she's a singer.
Right.
And I was still like, good Christian girl from Nebraska. Like I was really far away from being.
Oh, totally. But that's what makes it almost feels like pulling on the thread.
Yeah.
On the shirt because you could unravel the whole fucking thing. That's kind of what it felt like for you. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
It was like, holy shit, how the fuck did I end up over here?
Very uncomfortable. And I'm grateful that I had the courage to tell people the truth. Like in interviews, they were like, oh, so you're a rapper. And I was like, you don't say that, because I also knew that I had so much to learn. you know?
Yeah.
And it's a really fun thing to do in front of the whole world. Maybe not as fun, but a vibe.
But you had the facility of it. You know what I mean? You had the instrument for it. You had the talent for it.
Yeah. And now that I know so much more about hip hop culture, I'm like, that's not hip hop. Hip hop is much deeper and much.
Totally. But as far as the actual mechanism because just like the speed thing that you did, the
right.
diction that you have to, the talent you have to be able to just do that.
Sure.
And, if we hadn't tried that, we wouldn't know that you could.
Right.
So you do have to kind of, it is scary and it's super uncomfortable sometimes.
And I remember when that blew up too, they were like, oh, it's just a party trick. It's a novelty talent. It's like it's something you just do at a party, and it's not going to have any longevity.
They said that literally about hip hop too.
Yeah, so fuck
just
that.
House party music.
Yeah, fuck that. So just hang on to it. If you do discover that you are good at anime or something, like, don't let anybody tell you that is novelty. You might just get so into it. And I found out that I had always been into poetry. So when I really dug into what hip hop was and the history of it and the culture, I was like, oh damn, this is like one of the most honorable genres of music for me to be participating in. Right. And then I had so much to learn as a white person on top of it. It was just, wow, fast. Still to this day, I get so much from it. So you've now claimed what it is you're good at. You've acknowledged what you're not good at, right? Because what you're not, and gently becoming less of who we are not, is a part of the process. Now I want you to make some art. This was really important for me. I was like, I'm going to make necklaces now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you have to. Exactly. Because you don't want to be caged in for something either.
No, because now you're detaching from an old identity, babe. So you're like becoming this other thing, and you're taking action steps now, and you're like claiming shit, and you're like, oh, this is who I am. This is a good time to just fuck around with some paint or clay or music or whatever art you want to make. This is a really good time. Look, we sat down and made Gucci.
Totally. Oh,
in like 2 minutes.
Follow the inspiration.
Yeah.
That's what I always say. But it's true. Follow the fucking inspiration, because you've had, even in Queen Herbie, even in the last couple of years, you've had wanings with your relationship with music.
Oh,
right?
Yes.
Sometimes it's fucking white hot and it's amazing, and other times you're like, what? Like, this is terrible. What am I doing?
Yeah.
So it's like, while you were doing that, you started following the joy. You wanted to make necklaces. You wanted to, whatever, do with different things. Learn, make an aura spray.
Yeah. No, that's making art. And when you do this, don't judge it. That's the biggest thing. When I was making the aura spray, I was like, oh man, I'm not a chemist. Yeah. I just took like some formulation classes online. I don't know what I'm doing.
It was good though.
But there's some bitches on YouTube that show you like how to be confident and how to put your personal protection equipment on and like how to do it right. And then I became more and more confident in doing that. And I could make a formula that was my own.
What personal protection? Like a helmet?
No helmet. Gloves.
Condom?
You could do a hairnet, but my hair's really short. So
I didn't know you have to put a condom on before you
make aura spray. That is absolutely disgusting. Never say that again in this house.
Because you get fucked.
Yeah. So no perfection allowed in this art phase. Because you're gonna pull out more and more details. Like you might even draw or paint or make music, and it might steer you down a whole different road. So that's why that's my last step, and not judging it and letting go of what happens. Yeah,
letting go of outcomes is still hard for me. I'm getting way better at it, but it's still, I got a fucking ways to go on that shit. It's a bitch.
It really is.
Yeah, it's interesting because and you're also the queen of having all of those charts too, because and you're doing them. I still watch you at night. You're always finding some new one. So astrology was a huge thing that helped us kind of like at least find the inspiration to learn about who we are. Yep. And I think that's what everybody loves about it, because it's like, oh, well, I'm this, which is, so, it's you have 12, there's so many different angles you can look at it to make yourself, to realize how unique you are, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Even though there's a ton of Cancers, there's a ton of Taurus, but there's none of this, and this. You know
yeah. And your astrology is like a barcode of your life. It's really fascinating.
And when you look at it that way, it's like everybody wants to learn about themselves or be told like, oh, okay, well, what does it say?
Right. And if you notice, like when people are not into astrology,
They're Scorpios.
No. That is like a joke though that they say.
That's
it's not
joke.
necessarily
That's
true.
An astrology joke. For
no, I've
other
noticed
astrologers.
it's from a lot of different people. I won't name names, but it's cute because they're like, oh, well, it's not real anyway. It's stupid. And I'm like, well, why wouldn't you just look at it? That's fascinating to me. So yeah, astrology is fun. I'm going to give you one more goodie on this episode. We are going to give you the link in the show notes for this Enneagram test. Do y'all know about this?
Mm-mm.
You figure out if you're an ENFJ.
Oh, okay.
This is a personality test that is so helpful now. They've been using this in like places of business, and it's really helpful for your mental health because you find out like you more clearly define who you are at this time. And you want to retake this test every 6 to 12 months because you do like change. I've changed my number, my code has changed, but you end up with like these 4 letters. So you have like ENFJ or INFJ. E or I are extrovert, introvert.
Yeah.
N is like, I'm not going to remember all this shit. Nick Noonan or Queen Herbie.
Nick.
Yeah, you're gonna find out which one of us you are. No, this is a real scientific
it's like
quiz.
The other one is like judging or perceiving.
Judging or
like
perceiving, yeah.
That's the J.
Oh, and then there's this is the link that I'm giving you is a great one because they don't like try to take all your personal information and make you pay for it. And it's funded and well illustrated, and it's just super. They have like millions of people's results, so you can find out like what percentage you are of the population.
Yeah.
Like
I was the most unique. Right? I took the SHIT test.
Okay. What did you get? Mine is FUC.
Mine came back eggplant emoji. I don't know what that means.
Great. Shit dick.
Hi, Nick Noonan.
Congratulations.
You come around here often?
are a shit dick. And if you got
Shit
that
neck.
result, I would
Shit
be
neck.
like, oh, honey, that's so nice.
You are, that's so nice. You are a dick nick.
I'm so, dick Nick. I'm so happy for you.
A shit nick.
Yeah. So that one's a great one because it's going to force you to just examine who you are at a deeper level and then see if you're unique. Don't look at me like that.
Don't look at me in that tone of voice.
I used to be ENFJ, so I'm super judgy.
You guys were both ENFJ.
I think that's like a religious thing.
I haven't taken it in maybe like 5 years.
Oh,
That's
it's time. It's
same.
time for an update.
Same.
I made Alex
I don't
take
know.
the.
What was I? You were an I.
ENFP or something.
Oh. What was weren't you? You're an introvert, not extrovert, right?
I am more. I have 7% more introvert than I have extrovert now. I used to be an extrovert, y'all. So it changes.
It changes.
Changes on you. You got to retake the test. When I first took the test, it was like a health class at Berkeley, and they printed like a stack of papers for everyone. Whoa. It was awful. Wow. And now this link that we're giving you in the show notes is so lit.
I was going to say something wild too. Oh yeah, we watched one of the David Bowie docs on HBO this week.
That was so good.
It's really good. It's inspiring. I've always felt like he's not always like my top of guy, but it is always interesting to me, and it always puts you in like the super art, anything goes, man, kind of mind frame when you watch his stuff, and it's just very
free.
Yeah, it's kind of like free form, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And what I noticed too is like the first thing, I mean, I just didn't follow David Bowie's career that closely, but one of the first things I noticed was like he dressed in drag.
Oh, full.
Yeah.
Full
like every
out.
night.
Yeah.
And he was like known for it. And
Yeah.
it was before it's turned into what it is today.
Yeah.
But it was really fascinating to watch him reimagine himself, like every album cycle too. That inspires me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
His stage shows are very dramatic. He also did everything that we talked about on this episode. Like he would just explore the space. He would just paint or sculpt or move. He said he moved to California because he hated it and he wanted to see what it would do to his writing.
Yeah. And he never bought a house.
Because
he feel like
trapped, or he wanted to be able to change his environment.
Yeah. Which you feel like a lot.
I feel like that works really well if you have the means to do it.
Yeah, true. It is. Yeah, prices are getting fucking crazy out there.
Rent prices are crazy in LA right now.
Crazy out there. Yeah, but you're the queen of all the charts and like learning all that shit because the Ikigai one was another that was like a really good. They're just good workshops.
They're great.
You know what I mean?
They're super helpful. Let me just remind the babes out there today that there is a step-by-step process for figuring out who you are that's available to you. It's just, don't be surprised if you are confronted with a lot of feelings about it. Like overwhelm of options, fears about who you're supposed to be, who you think you are, like, really doing that work to get past that, even if it means like burning it or hiding it in a locked chest. Like I see so many people that are just afraid of themselves. And I'm telling you, on the other side of that fear is your fucking dream life. I've done it. I'm continuing to do it. It surprises me sometimes. Like I forget to update my routine and do my ritual to see like, who are you now, Queen? Because you see me do it in my art, but like every project, every year, I feel like a different evolution of myself.
Yeah.
And I encourage this behavior.
And you're really good at it. It's not, you are probably, we'll clarify maybe one of these episodes. We'll do the edibles episode and just talk about each other. But cause you are really, I don't know exactly what it is, but you're just, maybe it's courage. There's something that you have.
That's one of my words on the core values printout.
Huge balls. That's
not on the printout.
You're able to be, really, really free. You have like just no fear of things, or at least you're able to get beyond the fear.
Yeah. And I do love, what's her name? Robbins. Thank you.
Anthony.
I was saying Melissa. Mel Robbins has this whole theory that she put into place where she just says 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I was like, I remember learning about that technique and I was like, damn, this is brilliant, because it's kind of something I didn't count down in my head when I was learning to be courageous and to transform all the time, but it is something you have to sort of like, it's something you do when you get on stage to perform. Somebody had a great question about stage fright the other day, and I was like, it's like jumping into a pool of cold water.
Yeah. You
just take a breath and you just go. And so what Mel Robbins says is like, also look in the mirror and give yourself a high five. That's like it's like a quick, silly thing to do that like flips your mental state. But she said when she couldn't get out of bed in the morning, she would say, okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then push herself. So it's like a mental and a bodily response. So if you're feeling a lot of fear around figuring out who you are and you're like, Queen, I don't want to do the work. My life's easy. It's fine. No rush.
That's great too. That's also zero problems, you guys. Zero, honestly.
Zero problems. But we just heard like from so many people this week that were questioning who they are.
People are just coming over. So it's like people are just showing up now, kind of being like, hey, help.
Yeah.
It's also a huge transition right now with, it's really challenging to be an artist right now.
Ooh, speak on it, Nick.
Because maybe this is a whole separate thing.
Why is it so hard?
Because you have to do a lot of different jobs.
Now,
because
we didn't have to before. I've heard from like some of my musician friends are like, I didn't sign up to be an influencer.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's called marketing.
Well, now you're the marketer. You're all of the things that they used to have 5 different departments doing.
Yeah.
And now, you kind of, not that you have to, but it becomes a part of your art, the way that you can get it to the people.
Yeah.
And I guess that is marketing, but and this is something that, thank God, actually interests me a lot, and we butt heads on a lot, is the different forms of how to do that. Because it can be really, it's just really interesting. It can be super creative if you're looking at it the right way. But it's also so much time, so much energy, and it's fucking brutal.
Yeah.
And
you weren't always into it. So
I wasn't.
Nick wasn't always like the marketing like general.
No, it did change.
You became interested because you found out that you were good at it. So that goes back to one of the steps in the process we talked about, where it's like you eventually were like, oh, I'm kind of a marketing genius, and you have to like claim it. And then you can just take the fuck off.
Yeah.
I thought in the beginning, I'm just like such a starter of things. Like at the beginning of Carmen.
You are such a starter.
I could start anything.
Yeah.
Like right now.
I'm not a starter, but
You're a continuer.
I'm a continuer.
We need a finisher in this house. That's what we need. Where's our finishers at, Gary? We need a deal closer in this house.
We need a deal closer.
Yeah, but that's something I noticed about you, is that it's been more recent that you've been into that.
Thank you.
And that really works out in my favor, because I'm not interested in that as much.
Yeah.
I am still good at it though.
You're very good at it. No, you're really good. This is the thing with you. Like, you are good at so many, really good at so many different things, but it's in today's world. And again, there's nothing wrong. If that's what you want to do, that's great. To reach a certain level or a certain audience or certain whatever in today's world, it is about consistency.
Yes.
And it's about having it be part of your lifestyle, and you just continue doing that thing, and you build an audience around that thing because that's what you do and that's who you are.
And hopefully it's giving value of some sort, because then it will have staying power.
And if it's then it'll hang around longer. Yep.
That's really interesting that we're talking about like figuring out who we are, because I think social media is a really difficult place to portray who you are in a real way.
Yes.
It's
and
like,
have it translate kind of representing who you are at all, because it's usually scratches the surface if at all.
That's why I'm super proud that I've found like my community and my tribe through this like woo-woo shit, because guys.
And you did not know you were a healer.
I didn't. Well, I had to claim it. And it didn't come to me really until the pandemic, which is funny. That awoke in me something else.
So again,
and I was like, damn, this is fixing so many of my life problems.
Yeah.
So I think it's something I can now recommend. And I was nervous at first. I didn't know if people would be down for that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I absolutely. I mean, I was nervous and I wasn't even doing it.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing the reaction of people when you would do it. And I was like, well, no, there is something here. Even when you're first starting out something new, guys, like seeing the reaction, the passion of the reaction is a indicator that I always look for. Because even if you don't have crazy numbers,
it doesn't have to be 2,000 comments, like one or two comments that are very passionate is a really good
because
sign.
that's how you know you're tapping into something that's really resonating with people, and that is something that's going to expand you. By just of what you do. You don't, it's self-fulfilling marketing.
It is. Yeah, wow.
Okay, so we'll do like being an artist today, or marketing your shit online, or whatever. We could do a couple of those. What the music business is like, or what it's kind of, what's happening.
Right. And we do have some amazing guests that we're trying to line up now.
Yeah, let's get some guests.
Because look, we've got people that are much more professional at this shit than we are, and they like us. And I bribed them to come on the show because I was like, look, we have a community here of beautiful, creative people that want
stylish,
gorgeous,
magnificent,
stunning people who we need art from. We need your art as a reminder. So thank you again for tuning in to another episode about exactly that. It's funny too. We were just changing the categories that our podcast is under. Like, we're in a transformative time. So if you are like thinking, Queen, I don't know who I am right now. Like, who the fuck am I? I hope that this episode has been helpful for you. And please share it with friends or other creative types.
Give us a review. Give us 16 stars.
17 stars.
Thank you for listening. We love you.
We'll see you next time.